So he said, do you know, your parents have done you a very big disservice in life. And I said, oh, really? What do you mean? He said, they informed on you. And I said, oh, I don't understand. What do you mean they informed on me? He said, when you were born, they informed the government about you. They took you to a building, a government building, and there, some 14 days after you were born, they told a registrar about you and they gave away your legal title. And I said, I don't really understand what you mean. They said, well, the registrar filled in a certificate, did they not? They filled in your name and your parents were the informants. I said, oh, that sounds rather creepy when you put it like that. You're talking about my birth certificate, aren't you? He said, yes, that's right. And they gave your parents a copy, not the original. And he said, at that moment, you'd signed away, or effectively they had signed away, their son's legal title. And this was then turned into a bond. And I said, oh. He said, you see, the thing is, at that moment, your legal title on this certificate became a trust fund. The Treasury.
So I'm going to pause it there for a minute.
This is good.
You hear the word that he says, trust. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the subject of this year's mastermind is all about the trust. Okay. And there's two different types of trusts, right? So everybody, you read the Weiss's Trustee Handbook. There are implied trusts and there are express trusts. So this trust is an implied trust. Okay. So when we're going through and we're doing things for our God trust, that's a different type of trust too. So everybody has to really keep that in mind, think really hard on what he's saying here and focus on that, because I don't want you to get them confused, because the paperwork is different. The thought process is different. Who you are in that, let's say the monopoly piece that you are is different. So you have to think about what he's saying here, because you have to know when you're the monopoly piece and which piece it is you're taking on, especially when it comes to trust.
Has now turned this into a trust fund. And at that point, he gave me a certain amount of monopoly money. He said, oh, here's some money for the game. And I said, oh, thanks very much. I can't remember how much he gave me. But he said at that moment, he said, oh, I don't know, the trust fund has probably had £1 million put on it. And because it was bonded, it was floated onto the stock exchange and was earning money. Throughout the rest of your life, this trust fund would earn money. It would earn huge amounts of money.
And earlier you were talking about the Social Security going on. That is the Social Security Trust Fund. So when you really look up what it's really called, it is called the Social Security Trust Fund. And it's been incredibly mismanaged.
Check how much you've got there. And I counted out the money. He said, that's like a trust fund, isn't it? That's the trust fund. The bank has just given you a whole load of money. And he said, which character are you playing? I said, oh, the top hat. He said, yes, that's your legal title. He said, the government, when you ever get anything official, it'll come with your name in capitalization, big capitalization, the same as on your birth certificate. Capitalization. That's how you know that you are a player in the legal game of life. Your top hat isn't you, is it? I said, well, no, clearly it's just a silver little thing molded out of metal. He said, exactly. It's not actually you. Just as your legal persona, your name in capitalization, is not you. And yet it's on all the bits of paper from the bank, from the tax office, all those different bits of paper on your car registration, all those different pieces of paper. That is a representation of you, but it's not actually you. Just as the top hat is not actually you. And I said, oh, okay.